Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Cassie here and thank you so much for clicking on another video. So in today's video we are talking pros and cons of becoming a dental hygienist. Dental hygienist week just passed and I thought that it would be a really great idea to film a video about what the pros and the cons are. So I think that there's a lot of things on each side, so we're gonna get started first with the cons because I think that the pros are very good. Might be a little bit biased, but we'll start with the cons first. So honestly, I feel like there are a lot of things that can go on either side, but I want to start first with the cons, so let's start there. Okay, so con number one is that the job is extremely I guess she agrees that the job is extremely time consuming. So this depends obviously if you are working as somebody who is part-time, if you're working full-time, what kind of practice is it, a hospital, private practice, a lot of things go into that. But typically you are working, the time of operation in wherever it is that you're working takes up a big chunk of your day, whether you're doing a morning shift or an afternoon shift. There's late night shifts as well. So it really just depends on where it is that you're at, where it is that you're working, but it does take up a lot of your time. So that is something to consider, is that most, we'll call them 9 to 5 jobs, right, take up from 9 to 5. And even still, if you have to drive, if you have to commute, there's a lot of things that go into why it takes up so much of your day, and just the fact that it does, that can be a con, because if you are somebody who likes to do other things, you have a lot of other responsibilities, having something that takes up such a big chunk of your day might not be for you. So if you are somebody who has a lot of other responsibilities, then something that you might want to consider is doing hygiene part-time if it's possible. So here I am already starting off by giving you a con and then something to, like, a solution to work around that, but that's just naturally how I try to be, is to find the solution to whatever the issue might be. So that is con number one. Okay, so con number two, and this is something that I've mentioned before, but the job is extremely taxing on the body. It requires you to do lots of leaning over, running around, depending on what the office is like that you work at. You might have to take x-rays and do a lot of other things as well. And so just depending on what your responsibilities are, it can be a very tiring job, and so that's just something to consider as well. If you're a very busy person and you're running around at work and you have to run around maybe with children after, or who knows what, that is something to consider, is that you are not just sitting and having a smooth day most of the time. There are plenty of offices though that are much more slow paced, and you end up having much more time per patient. So that is really just depends on what exactly your role is where you work. Okay, so con number three, it's actually something that a lot of people, I feel like, are unaware of, and that is that most places do not provide dental hygienists with insurance and benefits. So the reason why most places, most jobs don't offer hygienists any sort of benefits or insurance is because of how much they are paid per hour. So I was always told this, like, don't expect that, they're gonna offer you benefits because of how much they pay per hour. It's like on you to go ahead and get your own insurance and just pay for it out of the salary that you make. So that is important for people who have kids, people who have families, people who don't have any insurance, who would want to look for those benefits. I know that in some hospitals they do offer benefits to hygienists that work there, and you will find also most corporate hygiene jobs will offer benefits. So that is something to keep in mind for sure. And it's definitely a con if you're somebody who does not have benefits and needs benefits. But if you have, then I guess that's, for you, then it doesn't really matter. But for people who need benefits, most of the time you won't be able to get them through the job, and you know, you'll have to figure out what the alternative will be. Okay, so this one, it's kind of like can teeter on either side, and so I just want to throw it out there and mention it now. Another thing to consider, or another thing to know, is that in any place, no matter where you live, any state, most of the time the higher paying jobs are closer to the cities, closer to the attractions, closer to where they want to get people to be, you know, spending money and just being around, right? Like, that is just naturally how the flow of things are. And so a lot of times the offices that are paying maybe the rates that you would like to be paid, or just on the higher end, are going to be in those areas where the closer to the attractions, maybe further from where you might live. Really just depends on where you're at. But that is something also to consider, is that a lot of the jobs will be further away, closer to the city, and they do pay more, so there will be commuting involved in that, and so that can definitely be a con, is having to commute. In my situation, I do have to commute, but I don't mind. In the beginning, it was a lot to get used to driving that distance, because I've never had to do that before. Living in Brooklyn, I could get to work in like 15 minutes. It was like no big deal, but not here. So that is the difference for sure. But the reason why I say that it could kind of go in between is because, for me, the reason that I don't mind is because it's in a great spot. I like and I enjoy driving out there, being there during the day, and then coming back home where I'm at, where I live, and I enjoy kind of just the entire experience. But that's just me. Also, I mean, I've moved here from a completely different place, so I think that that is also part of it, is just exploring, driving around, seeing different places, being in different places, seeing different people. For me, I enjoy it. I don't really mind, and so I've been enjoying having to commute. But if you do have to commute, for you, that might be a con. So that is also something to think about, something to consider, is if you do enjoy commuting and you do like to be able to get into the city but then go back home to your more suburban life, it could be a pro or a con for you. So, okay, so let's talk about the pros, because like I said, I feel like there are so many great things on the pro side, and so let's jump in. Obviously, everybody knows that the number one pro is the pay. We don't have to be shy about it. I'm sorry. No, but seriously. So the pay is obviously the number one pro. It is the reason why a lot of people go into hygiene, because there is a lot of potential for making money. This depends on a lot of things, but this is the pro, the biggest pro, the number one pro is definitely how much money you can make. So to kind of expound on that, you have a lot of power to negotiate how much it is that you'll make per hour, or whatever your arrangement is going to be. I feel like whoever I know, or the people who I have come across that have been unhappy with their pay or kind of their situation, a big part of the reason why they were or are is because they did not negotiate for themselves, or have not negotiated for themselves a little bit of a better situation. I know, easier said than done, but if there's anything that I have learned from being a dental assistant and kind of moving up, is that we can get really comfortable in the positions that we're in while we're in them, because it's familiar, it's what we know. We think that, like, this is how it is supposed to be. But you should definitely take a look at whatever the situation is in, take a look at what it is that you bring to the table, and at the end of the day, it's really about your ability. I want to encourage you, if you are somebody who has been working in whatever the field is for a very long time, and you know that you are doing your job to the best of your ability and really bringing something to the table wherever you're at, to advocate for yourself, because if you don't do it, they're not going to just randomly one day be like, here's here's a raise for all of your hard work. Everybody's not like that. They want to keep the money for themselves, of course, who doesn't? And obviously, I want to just say too that that is not the most important thing, how much you get paid. But at the end of the day, you have bills to pay just like they do. And on that, we'll go to the next point. Okay, so pro number 2 is that you can have a lot of flexibility in hygiene. So what I mean by that is that depending on what kind of job that you work, if you are working in a hospital, if you're working in a private practice, if you are a temp, you work for yourself, you just go and you book your jobs, there is a lot of flexibility. You can decide how you want your schedule to be. You can do part-time, you can do full-time. If you are somebody who owns a business on the side, which I know plenty, either nurses, hygienists, any like healthcare professional who decides after making a certain amount of money that they want to switch from doing full-time to part-time instead. And this allows them to also have a business that they run on the side. And I think that that's a wonderful idea. I think it's an amazing idea. If you have multiple passions and there are other things that you want to work on, that being a dental hygienist does give a lot of flexibility in that you can work 3 or 4 days a week and still make as much money as somebody who's working a 5-day week or even a 6-day week, really just depending, like I said, on how much it is that you make, where you're at, and just how everything works and kind of breaks down. So I think that that's great, the amount that you make, because the more money that you make, in a lot of cases, the less that you may have to work. Okay, so talking specifically about being a temp though, this is definitely something that I'll probably make a separate video on, because there is probably the most flexibility with being a temp. Really just depends on what your personality is like and what your preferences are for your work environment. But you as a temp control everything. So that it's how much you make, how many days you work, where you're at, everything, you control it, what kind of patients you work with, because you select all of your shifts, you set your rates, and so it really just depends. Also, to go along with that point, a lot of people who temp are traveling hygienists. And I met somebody who does travel hygiene or is working towards doing travel hygiene, I think, full time. And they were just saying that there's lots of opportunities available, even some opportunities where the temp agency that you work for, or the travel agency that you work with may cover your rent or housing for wherever it is that you stay as you travel. And I think that that is a super bonus to being able to go different places, see different things, work in different areas, and have wherever it is that you're staying be covered by the company. I think that that's amazing. It really just depends on what the ins and outs are, but those opportunities are also available. So that is definitely another pro. So what are we up to now? 4? I think that's either the 4th or the 5th one. But travel hygiene. If you are somebody who is single, if you do not have a family, if you are not married right now and you are taking care of yourself and you want to travel, you like to travel, you want to be different places, and you enjoy hygiene, I think it's a great opportunity for you to travel, to see different places, enjoy different people, and still get to do what it is that you enjoy doing. And then, because hygiene is versatile, whenever you decide that you don't want to travel anymore, you maybe get married, you settle down, whatever you decide, then you can always find a regular job working in a office or continuing a similar lifestyle by just temping wherever it is that you are. So there is a lot of flexibility in that, and that is definitely another pro. Okay, so for our next pro, I think that depending on where you work and what your relationships are with the people that you work with, there is a lot of opportunity to network with different people in different positions, which can help you further your career. Literally, in everything that you do, building relationships with the people who are around you is extremely important for your own growth and development. Wherever you are, you want to be able to learn, be able to absorb from other people and take whatever it is that you have learned and apply it to yourself. Highly recommend networking. It's great. It will boost your career. You can be introduced to people who might be in who do certain things that you are interested in, and then that experience you will now be able to have just based off of talking, interacting, getting to know other people. And so that is definitely a big pro. Network. Okay, so I know some of the things on my list are not necessarily things that you might have heard highlighted before, but I think that is why it's great to have so many different perspectives and to hear from so many different people, because sometimes we get caught up in just thinking that everything is going to be a certain way or turn out a certain way, and when you really talk to different people and hear what their experiences are, it allows you to see that there's so many different ways that things can go. And so this is just my few things that I just wanted to throw out there. I hope you guys had a great Hygienist week. So if you didn't know that it passed, happy Dental Hygienist week. I hope that you had a great one. I hope that you enjoyed this video as well. Please leave your questions down below. And also, before I forget, I really wanted to mention, I know that it has been requested several times by different people who want to see a day in life from me. And I just have to tell you that right now, I absolutely cannot produce that. And the only reason why is because I am working currently in a pediatric office, and it is just impossible because of HIPAA and all of those things for me to be able to film like working with kids. Like, I just can't do that. There's too many ins and outs that go with it. And so I can do a day in the life, but it is gonna have to be a little bit more creative because I can't, it's just, there's too many barriers. But I am grateful that people have been requesting that. It is something that I want to do, but I have to just get creative about the way that I do it. So it's coming. It's going to be a little bit of a different kind of vibe, but I hope that you enjoy. Thanks again so much, and please just leave whatever questions you have down below. Looking forward to hearing what you think the pros and cons are, because I know that I left some things off of this list for sure. So comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.